to learn something new. And of course, I know what's in your mind. Nowadays, there are people getting notices from IRS and the ERC audit. It is something that is going on among the small business owners. So making sure we explain what that is to you and make you understand while you're waiting for ERC refund check doesn't mean you got audited. And you get audited for a specific request, and you'll see what that looks like. So today, we're just gonna bring you to a place where you can rest your mind, not to be so anxious. At the same time, knowing that if you get audited and what you need to do. All right, solution day, right? Okay, so you see our presentation already. It's right on the screen. ERC audit, what small business owner need to know. Knowing it is 50% done. I always say that knowledge in today's world is everything you need. Once you know what that is, you know how to deal with it. The trouble is a lot of small business owners, you are in your little circle, in your community, and you don't really know what outside of your community or what even outside of your house or your business. Without knowing that part, and you can't make the right decision. So this is what we're trying to level the playing field, and this is the channel we open to public, and of course, we tell you that come to learn, do it yourself, and we call it do it yourself channel because we give you everything we know. All right, so our first slide is about our website, and you can always know who we are, what we do, how we develop as a firm ourselves, and from communitycpa.com. Right now, we have 6 branches. I know that you are still looking at my website, and I think it's updated already. This slide is reflected 2-3 months ago. So we have 6 office locations, and we have more than 12,000 clients. Didn't count, but the last time I count was close to 13,000. So that gives you an idea of what Community CPA is all about. We are the place where many people just like you are seeking for answers, finding solutions and help. Professional help, right? And YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel has all the webinars we have done in the past. So we started this YouTube channel back on March 24th, 2020. So from that day on, we have been doing at minimum 4 times a week on webinars. So Saturday is a heavy load webinars. We do literally about 45 to 1 hour to talk about a subject matter that is most relevant for today's world. So if you look at our timestamp, you literally know what matters to small business owners the most at that time, because that's how we gather our topics. You may say that, oh, Ying, how do you know what is the topic that you're going to talk about every single day? And let me tell you, it's so easy because we have that many clients, right? So we have a little climate going on here, whether it's rain or shine or snowy days or winter blizzard, whatever you call it. So our client reflected that climate. So we knew what is most critical to talk about. At the same time, we also devote people. We have professional staff on board doing nothing but scour the internet and making sure that we are in compliance and making sure that our knowledge is updated, making sure that we don't get fooled by AI generated information, and make sure that we help our customer to understand what is most important. So that YouTube channel is a reflection of our work. So you can actually follow us and know everything you need to know as a small business owner. Of course, you probably heard I have 2 books already published on Amazon. And I was just telling one person that because her English is very limited, but she's doing business. So I told her, why don't you just buy the audio version of the 8 a.m. My book, and also get the book. And you read the book and you listen to audio. That is the best way to improve your English. So, we have audio version of 8 a.m., but we don't have audio version of 10 a.m. yet. But I'm doing the 2 p.m. Book, which is expanding your business. So this is a life of business, right? You start, you grow, you expand, Then the number 4 book, which is the last one in the series, that 6 p.m. is retiring from your work, from your business. So those are the, the business knowledge we're trying to cram into the books. And all of the content I have in the book, it is either from myself, growing community CPA, and also our client growing their business. So there's a lot of stories. It is definitely a story-filled book. It's not your textbook from university. It's different. All right. Now, let's say before we get into the real stuff, we want you to know that our webinar is free, so we don't take responsibilities, right? You want to take our knowledge, study on your own, or hire professionals, getting it done right, but please don't just rely on our website or quote my audios goes to audit. You can't play my audios to the auditor and say that that's why I'm right, because listen, Ying said that, have anybody did that? And I'll tell you that yes, someone did that, but it didn't work because I am not commissioner at IRS. I don't have the authority to decide what IRS decision gonna be for you, right? So I am just here to be the best messenger, to translate the rules to you so you can fulfill that, understand that in the layman term, or I call it Chinglish term, however you want to interpret that. Take responsibility. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, let's talk about ERC. So to fresh up your memory about ERC, right? Employee retention credit. This has been one of the most valuable COVID time money to support employers, right? Refunds are often delayed by IRS. You can imagine the volume of the process. And later on, pandemic is done, the presidents are changing again and again. So there's a lot of delay on that. Our goal here is to help you understand that the ERC audit that follows what you claim. So you claim the ERC refund. IRS goes, no, I don't want to give that to you. I want to audit you. So what does that audit look like? How to know that you're being audited? You're not getting the check for a long time, and you're not getting any communication. Just someone called you, goes, hey, I'm from IRS, and I have this Washington, D.C. number showing up on your phone. You're being audited. Send me $10,000, and I'll get rid of your audit files. So that's spam, right, folks? The IRS don't ever call you for audit. If you get audited, you better have the paper, black and white, in front of you. It will tell you that you're being audited. All right? So now let's take a look at the ERC. So ERC we talked about. That is a payroll tax credit created during COVID time to encourage employer to keep employee on the job. It is applied to wages that you paid out already in 2020 and 2021. Just these 2 years. Eligibility recap really quickly. A significant, they're saying that you can get to qualify for ERC, you can get money back from IRS if your gross receipt, means your sales, significantly declined compared to 2019. Number 2, being subject to government order. The government in your local area, your city, your county, or federal government said that nope, you can't open and you cannot work. That suspended business operation is a second condition. Your business is a recovery startup business that only applies to quarter 3, quarter 4, 2021. So for people who are qualified, recovery startup business, like you are in the startup time. 2021 is a COVID time. 2020 COVID time. 2021 is a recovery COVID time. If in quarter 3, quarter 4, you had to spend money, there is a money for you. $50,000, the government gave that to you because you qualify for recovery startup business, RSB. So those are 3 conditions for you to get money. The refund is delayed. Let me run you through the delay so you understand what's happening with the federal government and how that related to you personally, right? On September 14, 2023, IRS announced immediate pause on ERC processing. Because at that time, that commissioner announced it has a vast majority of the claim are fraudulent, are not ineligible, but they claimed it. So that is at that time, the commissioner was announcing that. When that was announced, I was sitting there goes, I don't believe it. I don't understand why they would conclude vast majority of the claim are ineligible. Not vast majority, come on folks. And so on July 30th, 2024, a year later, the federal court ruled the IRS will not have the discretion to decide whether to process ERC claim or not. So that's a court decision based on a court called Stevenson Tamadon. It is a person's name. Stevenson Tamadon LLC sued the IRS commissioner and saying about their claim. So the court decided that IRS cannot just, exercise discretionary power, goes, some of those I just not going to process. So they took that out of IRS. Compliance effort. IRS claimed that over $2 billion were recovered from improper ERC claim between the fall of 2023 and the fall of 2024. Through, this was the effort IRS put out. They call that Voluntary Disclosure Program, VDP, and the self-withdrawal. So IRS actually counted all the self-withdrawal, voluntary disclosure program, also their audit, and everything out together. They're saying that they saved $2 billion. And many businesses, especially with a large ERC refund, are still waiting for a refund because IRS is carefully releasing them by reviewing the document that they received. On April 15 of this year, it was the absolute deadline for 2021 ERC claim. So people might sitting here wonder that, okay, Ying, I don't understand. ERC is back in 2020, 2021. Why are you talking about deadline of April 15, 2025? Remember, the ERC is amendment to 941, right? ERC, when you claim ERC, what do? You do amendment of 941 tax form. This is the payroll tax form. So that 941 payroll tax form, assume you filed on time. The due date for filing, considered timely, is actually April 15 of 2022. There is a 3-year statutory limitation for amendment that you do where you can get the refund back. So April 15, 2025 is absolute due date for you to get the refund back. That's why there's a due date like that. So let's look at this very, very important slides. I literally want you to take a shot on this one. Snap a picture because it's so important. I have 2 sections here, filing deadlines and also audit deadlines. Don't you want to know your audit deadlines, right? So the filing deadline for on January 31st, 2024, which is last year, the January end, the 2021 quarter 3 and the 4 ERC, it is absolute deadline. And this is new. This is new since July 4th of 2025 when the one big beautiful bill get finalized that is come out of OBBB that applied retroactively. So if you have someone who claimed 2021 quarter 3, quarter 4 ERC and you are still waiting for it, but you filed it after January 31st, 2024, you don't get it. It is already cut off. So make sure you go back to your document to see when did you submit 2021 quarter 3, quarter 4, because you may not have it. This OBBB retroactively cut off the ERC claim for January the 31st, 2024. If you submitted in February 1st, 2024, that submission don't even get looked at. It goes to the garbage immediately. So April 15, 2024, which is after that January 31st, 2024. So in April, when we finish our tax filing on that same day, 2020's quarter 2, 3, 4, that is the deadline. That's the due date. So if you filed 2020 quarter 2, 3, 4 last year, April 15, 2024 and before, you're good. So that is still, you meet the filing deadline. April 15, 2025, it is 21 quarter 1, quarter 2 deadline. So I hope that you already got that done. So that's a water under the bridge, right? Deadline is already over. Nobody can file any new ERC anymore. So now let's look at the audit deadlines. So I'm going to read this to you. It is so important and very technical. I want to make sure you understand. So for 2020 quarter 2, 3, and 4 ERC. So 3 years from the date of April 15 of 2021, when the 2020 941 were completed and due, or the actual filing due date whenever you filed late. So that audit, it is April 15, 2024 or later. So if you filed late, of course, it's later. But on April 15, 2024, your 2020 quarter 2, 3, 4 is already done. The audit period is over. They can't audit you anymore unless you're subject to criminal investigation. So that's where I want to point that out. So if let's say you haven't even got your 2020 quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 check yet, and then that means the IRS cannot audit you. They have to send you a check. So that's what that means. And April 15, 2025, that is due. This is on this day, 2021 quarter 1 and quarter 2 ERC can no longer be audited. Make sense? That is the audit due dates for quarter 1 and quarter 2 of 2021. So now, let's deal with 2021 quarter 3 and 4. Right now, with the newest information we got from One Big Beautiful Bill, it is 6 years. So that means up to April 15 of 2028, you still will be subject to audit for 2021 quarter 3 and 4. All right? So this is what I want to explain to you. So you kind of sit there and count your claims. So let's say you have quarter 3 2021 claim. Then you know that your audit period, it was 5 years. It was extended from 3 years to 5 years anyway. But now, from the Inflation Act, now it is extended even more with One Big Beautiful Bill becomes 6 years. So until April 15, 2028, you always have a chance to be audited, even if you got the check. All right? But of course, 2021, quarter 1 and 2, if you haven't been audited yet, it's already over. And the 2020, quarter 2, 3, 4, and also the March 13 to March 31st, that belongs to quarter 2 from ERC concern. So those 2021, that is already over. Statutory limitation for audit is already over. So now you understand what we are talking about, right? 941 in general is a 3-year audit. So that's why normally it's 3 years. When you filed 941X, 3 years is over, audit statutory limitation is over. But for that particular quarter of 2021, which is quarter 3 and 4, those are extended to 5 years, then later on now extended to 6 years. So just make sure you understand the audit due date. So you can look at your claim, kind of decide whether you should worry or not worry, right? Why ERC audit are happening? Of course, there's a surge in ERC claim. There's a lot of claim coming up. At one point, more than 1 million claims were sitting in the backlog for IRS people. That's a lot of work. Many were filed late and some through questionable third-party promoters. You know, you heard of those third-party promoters. Their aggressive marketing on ERC They call them credit meals. And I know one of a pretty large credit meals in Texas was shut down during that time. And there's a lot of aggressive claim. It's really it just they're taking advantage of our taxpayers don't understand the rules and regulations. If you have the knowledge, you understand, you won't fall into the credit meals kind of scam, right? You only fall to there is because you don't have enough knowledge and you think what they do is the best for you because they can claim a lot more than your CPA can claim for you. So that's not a good deal if you have done that. Of course, if you have done that and then later on you got audited, you can always cancel your claim so to not get the check, right? So IRS concern about improper fraudulent claims is, it is main reason why the ERC audit is happening right now. So what are the red flags in ERC audit? Let me just name a few. Some of those things are definitely trigger ERC audit. Claim size disproportionate to payroll. So for example, you have a small staff but claims hundreds of thousands, and that's just wrong. And when they look so odd for what you claim, while your payroll is small, of course, that's a red flag. An industrial impact mismatch. Let's say you are in I don't know, I can't give a good example not to offend someone, but I'm just imagining that if you are a restaurant, you got impacted, so that's a matchable industrial impact, right? But there's also businesses that doesn't get matched that way. For example, maybe you are a software company, all of your people are subcontractors, and then you have huge ERC claim. That doesn't make any sense, right? And a business that won't heavily affected by COVID shutdowns and still claim credit. PPP overlap. That's another red flag. If your wages already gone through loan approval, then you should not be claiming that on ERC. So double dipping on PPP is definitely a trigger for the red flag. If any of these apply to you, it doesn't mean that your claim is wrong, but it does mean that the IRS is going to take a closer look at you. Now, so you say, okay, fine. What is the audit look like, right? How do I know I am being audited? So generally speaking, the type of audit, there's two type of audit. One is what we call the corresponding desk audit. The other one is what we call the field audit. The auditor could show up in these two ways. So the corresponding normally is a mail. Normally is a letter, not even from your local IRS office, sometimes from a different campus. So they come a letter, they tell you that they want to look at certain things before they release your check, so that is already audit. But they can also in person knocking your door, visiting your office to really visibly have a feel whether you really have that many people working, right? Focus area for these audit is certainly on the Form 941. Okay, of course you need to have your PPP information as well, because one of the things they check is the overlapping PPP. Of course, you want to have your proof of why you qualified for the ERC. You either have a huge sales drop or you have a governmental shutdown notice, right? Those kind of information you need to have. So the letter you are receiving from IRS for this audit is a letter 6612. This is the IRS letter. This is a notice sent to business, sent not to you personally, to your business, regarding the ERC claims. It indicates that IRS is auditing ERC claim may hold credit until the audit is over. So that letter 6612 is made especially for ERC credit. And I will show you what it looked like shortly. I had a picture to show you. Request in this letter, it will tell you what to do, give you the due date, tell you what they need, and also they want to, they also want to send that to your POA. So if you if your payroll or your claim is done by a CPA firm or your credit meal people, they will send that to them as well if they put their name as a PTO. But a lot of time, those large credit meals, they have the client sign as if they claim that themselves. So in that case, you will just get it in your business. You won't get another one to your CPAs and a third-party provider. So this is a look of that letter. Okay, this is the look of the letter 6612. And what can really make you remember is right in the middle of the letter there is this, I forgot the term, the thing that you can take a picture then link you to sign in. What do you call that? So I blocked it out just because I don't want you to get specific client information from us, but this is what the letter is looking like. Okay, so you can see it's coming from IRS. It gives you the date, it gives you the period they are auditing, and it gives you the contact information. Have you go to the scan thing so you can actually logging in to upload your supporting document to this audit. And what is the list of questions the IRS is going to give you? I also have the pictures on the following slides, but generally I just want to mention to you that they want payroll record. Whichever quarter they are auditing you, they want that. They also need your tax return for the year. And the reason is they want to look to support the gross receipt side of things, right? So that is what they're looking. And they also are asking for the governmental proofs of the shutdown, PPP document, and also your workbook on ERC. And I knew one of the people in our webinar. During that time, we actually showed people how to do a ERC Excel spreadsheet to claim the proper credit. So one of the audience actually take our form and did the ERC. We had a really good ERC webinars for business people to do it themselves. So one of those folks got audited. They showed the Excel we designed for folks to use, and I was told by the person that when they get audited, they show the IRS of our Excel. The IRS really liked it, so they used it. They actually okayed with the ERC worksheet that our client had. So this is the list of things the IRS is asking from you if you are being audited. So I know I'm not going to go through all of these, but you know that it is existed inside of our webinar slides. If you're interested to read that in greater detail, you just email. At the end of this webinar, I'll give you the email address. So you email to Catherine and have her send that to you. So this is what I prepared for you. And I blocked whatever you should not see and I leave you with the standard IRS question. These questions, there are 13 of them, I believe. There are 13 of them. And very standard. And all of the letter we see so far from our collective clients are similar. So that's why we knew, and this we call that IDR request. You see this IDR request has a number 1 on there. That just means it's the initial request. If you go through audit, if you're going through audit like how we do on income tax and other audit, the IDR could go for 23, 24, and it can be for many IDR item. But this is a standard one. So just to tell you that when you get audited, now you understand, and you will see list of things they ask from you. So if you did not receive these notice, 6612, and you don't need to worry. That means you're not being audited. That means IRS is taking their sweet time to process your check. But of course, you want to make sure that you are not caught in the due date. Remember, the OBBB retroactively terminated ERC claim on January the 31st, 2024 for claim on third, fourth quarter of 2021. So if you submitted that late, like after January 31st, 2024, too bad. Whatever you submitted is not going to work, right? So you just need to know. Prepare for an audit. and you need to know the due date. That letter I showed you earlier really tells you the due date, and the IRS normally give you close to 2 months of time to do that due date. So it is very generous. Normally you see them in 2 weeks, but for this 6612, and they give a lot of time. And you want to generate your document, you want to save your government orders. So you might as well start scouring your internet, making sure that you can find the government order you relied on. If you have done ERC claims with our firm, we already have that. We don't wait until now to get your documents ready. We already have everything there for you, and you must have a copy from us too, so you don't need to worry. And our eligibility process was very tight, so we knew you will be okay. But the one that we don't know and you did it elsewhere, that is where you want to see whether you have those items are collected, right? So keep your PPP record really tightly, because that's what they are asking. So you want to prepare your audit. Should you call IRS or taxpayer advocate right now after you got the letter? No, you don't call, because even if you call, they cannot tell you that, okay, fine, I'm not auditing you. I changed my mind because you sound so nice on the phone. You know, it doesn't happen, right? If you don't get your checks and you didn't even got the audit letter and you're in between and you call, nobody knows what to answer you. So you don't want to do that. Taxpayer advocate is definitely not your choice, because they're only helping cases where the hardship or prolonged delay, but they know that ERC delay is a normal delay, so they're not going to helping you. And if you cannot prove hardship, how are you going to prove hardship? I don't know. Maybe you do have hardship. So knowing that the taxpayer advocate really is just helping the most needed. And typically they don't care about the business, they only help individual. All right, so what is your best approach? The most effective way to navigate the IRS ERC audit, is to respond promptly, to the letter. So as soon as you got letter and it gives you a due date, if that due date is a certain date and you want to make sure you respond before that due date, right? And work with your CPA or work with your professional advisor and your attorney to get the information collected. And just go by the IDR, one item at a time, and you got 13 things to do. That's how it is, okay? Only escalate to taxpayer advocate if there's a real delay or hardship. And don't touch that one, because you don't get immediate help even at advocate. They're so busy, and you really do have to prove your case. Most likely when you go in to explain to them what happened, and they probably will just tell you that to wait. So we do have taxpayers, didn't even talk to us and went to taxpayer advocate immediately, and I won't mention which advocate was telling my client, and they're saying that they're being criminally investigated. I just think the advocate people are just kind of upset. They, if you are being criminally investigated, and you will also know. You will also understand why you would be criminally investigated. If you're just an ordinary taxpayer, what? They investigate you for what? Maybe you're drug dealers and you pretend to be normal, but, most of our clients we come across, everybody is going to church, so there's nobody criminals here. All right, so like we said, taxpayer advocate is some organization that you want to use it carefully. There's no penalty you use them, but there's more delays, more confusions. People don't know what you want, and you get yourself more anxious. So probably more pressure relieving. You just go online and book appointment with community CPA folks with me, and I'll explain to you. So it's to lower your blood pressure so you don't get so worked up, right? What is your right when you get audited? So being audited doesn't mean you are at fault. Also does not mean you are unethical. Just please know that. Good people get audited. Everybody get audited. We're like equal. Life is equal, right? Maybe not so equal in the White House. So anybody who works for the White House, they don't get audited. But for you guys and your ordinary folks, and you will get audited if you need to, right? IRS duty is to ensure filings by taxpayer are accurate and in compliance. So that's IRS's job, folks. So getting audited, it just means that you still have a functional IRS. Aren't you happy about that? I am. Because if there's no rules, why do they need CPAs around? Everybody can just do whatever they want, right? So rules is good. Rules set majority of us on the same playfield. Even though they're elite people, but majority of us are still belongs to the same field, right? Understanding them helps you to feel comfortable, confident, and prepared. So right to representation, that means you can hire community CPA, you can hire your next door neighbor attorney to represent you. That means you don't have to show your face. You can just hide behind and let them do their job, right? Right to know the information the IRS need. Why do you need this? Why do you want me to give you that? Why do you look for this? You have a right to know why they want that information, right? And you also have a right to appeal. That's a beautiful right. If you just don't get along with this auditor, because as soon as you step into his office and you stepped on his foot, he didn't like it. So give you a hard time. You feel like he's giving you a hard time. Don't like the result. Then you can appeal. IRS always have appeals, and you can go there and get justice, right? And the right to a fair and impartial process cannot threaten you, cannot intimidate you, and cannot penalize you without due process. So this is the function of government, and I do believe that our government, majority of our government in the process of regular citizens, this is still done pretty well. So you want to rely on the system, know that everything will be processed fairly. And the best practice going forward, folks, keep organized your payroll and tax document, save all the ERC related calculations and notes, carefully. Select third-party advisors, carefully select. Come to Community CPA and have your CPA review your claim before submission. All right? And respond quickly to IRS. Did I say you need to know your due date, right? That is so important. In my profession, I have a really amazing ability. I'll tell you, this is my personal amazing ability. I remember all the due dates. If I read a notice, if I see a notice coming through my eyes, and I maybe understand the notice in general, but that due date is like a light bulb. It's on my calendar in my head. So when I lived every day, I actually knew what day, what notice is due. And that is where, the professional folks will tell you that, because they are so get used to it. You have to know the due dates. But if you are small business owners and you're not sensitive to due dates, when you get a notice, you probably don't pay attention to that. I'll tell you that if this webinar didn't teach you anything, and it will tell you that you can develop that special human ability. And that due date is like a little light bulb in your mind calendar. And you look into your month and you know how many light bulbs in there, because those are due dates. So that is the ability I have. So I knew every notice coming through our firm. As long as I saw it, I know due date, I know whose due date that is. So that is how important that is to going to, when we talk about best practice, really, I would put that due date as number one best practice. So we never, in our firm, we practice for nearly 30 years. Do you know that we have never, ever missed a due date for a client? We have more than 12,000 clients. That is who we are. So now, let me give you a summary for this webinar, right? If IRS still owe you ERC checks, or IRS is still processing the ERC checks as we speak, right? Do not assume you're being audited. Do not assume you will get your refund check. You will not get, do not assume you won't get your refund check, right? You will get your refund check as long as you don't get the notice. And you will either receive a notice from IRS or you receive your check. That's just what's going to happen, right? And if you have a special situation where you're like, oh, I don't know where I am, and I'm in between, I didn't get notice, I also did not get check, then your best choice is to contact us to look at your specific circumstance, see whether we can help you or whether you need any help or not. Maybe you don't, right? Maybe you are just perfectly normal. So that is what we want to tell you, to lower your blood pressure and be objectively looking at what you have and where you are. Don't assume you get audited already. Now, if you are in that category of anxious, you are stressed out, you're in between, the claim was filed by some credit meals, you're not sure whether that was really okay or not okay, or you don't even know when that was filed. You have us, you can go to our website, click appointment, and you can either book my time or Kwan Chum Jungwa time. And Kwan specialized in payroll and specialized in ERC. And Dr. Hao, you also see him kind of in the middle, the fourth one, and he is specialized in governmental audit. We got expertise here. And myself, so you can always book my time. Yes, it's a chargeable appointment, but that's the value we provide you is way over exceed the dollars we charge. But you will see, when you book the appointment, you will know the fees and everything, it will be in there. And also our calendar will be there too, so you can select the time we have opening and meet us really quickly. So here is Catherine at communitycpa.com. Remember I told you that I will give you her email address, so now you have it, and you can always email her for questions that you have. You have our website. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribing to our YouTube channel will give you the following 3 things. Number 1, get a sense of what's going on in the small business owner's world. A sense, because you can tell from our topics. Number 2, provide yourself a good access to learn. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is a key to a safe business practice. So you give yourself that opportunity. Last, not the least, when you subscribe, it shows how many people needed the knowledge. When certain videos you like the most, give us the thumb up. So we follow your input to create our future webinars. So you are building a community-based program which is free, online, to help more people. So with those 3 reasons, don't you want to subscribe? Subscribe. And I'll see you again in my next webinar.